In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, we ask Stuart, how do I get aligned with my business partner? Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million, and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, wherever you are in the world. And today we've wheeled Stuart out again, out of the coaching machine that is at the Growth Hub, to ask a really important question. It's one that we get asked quite a lot of the time. And we also have to unravel quite a bit of relationships, communication, process, all this sort of stuff. How do I get aligned with my business partner? This is a really big thing for us, isn't it?
It's huge, and it's a great question, and it's great to be back because out of the
haven't been anywhere
the coaching hub with all our clients, and having the last intensive that we had just a couple of weeks ago, and they are so intensive because we designed them that way, but it's an intensive delivery of goodness. And this question of structure is a massive one, particularly if you're not a solo business partner, because if you are two or more business partners, and we've got some clients with 3, sometimes 5 business partners, the complexity of agreement on strategy and direction is complicated. Yeah. However, the majority of business, MSPs are either a single director or two of them, two founders. But the complexity beyond that is such that you may have 2 founders that started the business 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So they're equals. Or you've got an older founder and a newer founder. That's both in age. You might have someone in their 50s who's brought in somebody who's in their 20s or 30s. They may have come up from within the business and started as a techie. You may have different shareholding, so therefore one's got control, one hasn't got control from a shareholding perspective. Or you've got a husband and wife team, and that has its own advantages and complexities as well. So it's not just, are we 2, are we 3, are we 1? It's a whole range of flavors within.
Talk to us about some of the most common things we see is that when you've got business partners, you could have one business partner who is the techie, the OG techie, and then you'll have somebody who would be more business savvy around, one in the business and one on the business type of thing. And we hear quite a lot of the time about, well, they don't see things the same way that I do, and they always want to stay in the technology, and they're normally they're quite reserved, a little bit more reserved, whereas the riskier business owner with a bit more of an entrepreneurial flair might be the other business owner, and they kind of can clash quite a bit, or can get stuck, can't they? Talk to us about that dynamic, because it's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think going back to the flavors, of structure between directors is that I suppose it depends how lucky you get in terms of who you go into business with. If there's 2 or 3 of you, because, well, let's just start with 2 men or women that set up an MSP together. Are they equal in terms of types of personality? So are they both very technical and very detail-oriented and less people-orientated? Generally, though, you find that 2 business partners tend to be complementary. So their skills fit well together. So whilst they both perhaps come from a technical background, one is more people-orientated, one is more detail and process. They can both do it all, but they've got preferences. And that's probably the best formula for success. And if we think about husband and wife teams, or partners, that are in a relationship together, you've got, again, usually they make quite a good team, because that's the whole reason they're in a relationship, because they're not identical, and they're making life work, through marriage or partnership. However, there needs to be clear delineation of roles and responsibilities for that husband and wife relationship to work, and that, business partner relationship to work. And generally you find that one partner is the leader and founder, and the other is kind of supporting on back office admin and administration. So it's not a like for like equal business partner relationship, but they're both beneficiaries of the success of the business.
And a lot of that's around trust, isn't it? Because, generally they wouldn't trust anyone else with the finances, wouldn't trust anyone else with that part of the business. And it's great because you've got control on it, but it also can stifle the speed and acceleration of the business while it's scaling, can't it?
Well, for sure. But at the same time, regardless of husband and wife, 2 directors, 3 directors, there is a ceiling that we all have of confidence. So getting started was one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're 300 or 400K, 500, 600, 700, a million. The next step is out of our comfort zone. It has to be by definition.
Yeah.
And so comfort zone in terms of how much, investing, putting £2,000 or £3,000 a month into marketing, hiring a technical person at 40, 50K when you've never paid more than 20 or 30K, hiring a sales and marketing or a BDM. They're scary decisions when effectively the business up till now has probably been lifestyle.
Yeah.
Taking it to the next level of a proper structured business that's an asset is a big leap, especially if you've never done it before.
So how do we overcome that, Stuart?
It's always quite a simple answer is if you're frustrated there's two things. Are you frustrated with the success of the business to date, i.e. you could have achieved more than what you're already achieving? And is the business working for you? Or are you frustrated with each other because you want different things? So the starting point is getting on the same page, whether it's husband and wife, two business owners, an employee that's become a director with the founding partner. You guys have to be on the same page, because if you're not, you're going to want different things. And so you're going to pull in different directions and the business is going to plateau. And the most frustrating thing for us that we see is when people talk to us about, we want to grow. There's two of us or three of us. And it's clear that one half or one of the third doesn't want it. And maybe they're the founder and they're more risk averse. And you can see that the newer directors, shareholders want to grow, but obviously they want to take their business partner with them. And their frustration is that they have to dumb down their ambition.
Yeah.
And you can see that in their eyes. And it's like, it'll either lead to one walking away from the other. The options of saying, well, I'll buy you out. Well, no, I won't let you buy me out. And they've got control. And you kind of end up stuck in a relationship that just isn't good for anyone.
Yeah.
But no one knows how to get out of it. And no one's prepared to, call it, get divorced.
Well, the challenge is when they're not on the same page. If you've got two or three business partners and one of them is quite happy just sitting there plodding along, the other one wants to be ambitious to grow. But then why do I want to grow the business? Because it's going to cost me more money when I buy it off the other partner. But there are ways around every single situation like that in terms of your shareholders agreements and making sure everything's in place and how you're going to value the business. What does exit look like? And just being open and upfront. And we're having this conversation with about 4 of our clients at the same time at the moment, aren't we? About what does exit look like for all of you? And then once we've kind of agreed and everybody's on the same page with that, we kind of put that in the drawer and then we go, right, let's get on with the task in hand of growing this business.
Totally. And that aligns with, the boring word of vision, husband and wife or just fellow directors. What does success look like for us in 3, 5, 10 years time? And how do we achieve it? And if we agree on that outcome, or even if one wants to get off sooner, at least it's out in the open and let's work towards it. Let's invest for the next 5 years so that you can, step out, retire, whatever it is you want to do, or, not work in the business if it's husband and wife and, go and do what you actually wanted to do.
I mean, we haven't got time to go into the full detail of it, but our genius model is something that we put our clients through. And in actual fact, more and more of them are going through this model at the moment. And it helps you to identify what you're good at, what you're not good at. Give us a quick minute blast on what people need to do to help them identify what their roles should be, how to get started a little bit.
I think deep down, each individual knows what they ought to be doing or what they're good at. And I think it's having an honest conversation with yourself and then your business partner to say, look, you're great with the technical and operational side of it. I can do it, but it doesn't float my boat as much.
Yeah.
I'd much rather be out in front of clients, talking to them about, the next step of their, digital roadmap and selling and then handing it over to you. But, because we haven't got enough engineers, I have to do the engineering stuff and it frustrates me. Have that conversation because it's very clear what you should both focus on. Husband and wife. Again, we've had it recently that, the wife, it tends to be, the experience of the nature of the MSPs is that she's supporting her husband in his business, tends to pick up the admin and the invoicing and the quotation side of it. That may be in their skill set. And if it is, let them run with it. And what you sometimes find is that they actually enjoy the people side of it. And so letting them into the management side the people management side of
Yeah.
it, doing one-to-ones, disciplinaries.
Yeah, I've had some real good success. with
Really
that,
great success with that. So sometimes your partner can can take over the bit that you don't enjoy, because so many MSPs struggle with that whole performance management, thinking that one-to-ones are about conflict and confrontation when they're trying to set expectations and KPIs, which it isn't, but it feels like that. So who actually doesn't see those conversations as conflict or confrontation? And we have seen that in many cases it's the business partner or the wife.
Exactly. So when we've got the roles agreed, and we've got you kind of got your boundaries set and what measures and successes looks like in each of those, how do we then anchor this back to the growth plan if they've got a growth plan?
Well, first of all, have they got a plan? So do they know what success looks like? Are they in agreement that is something they both want? Is there a plan for them to move towards it? And I know this is all just cliche business stuff that everybody knows.
It bloody well works, though.
But they are the foundation. It's a bit like saying, well, I want a 5-bedroom bungalow or a 5-bedroom townhouse, but I'm not going to put the foundations in. Yeah. It's never going to get beyond 6 layers of bricks. So they need that growth plan in place, and then they need to know what those individual success measures look like for the growth plan. So it might be how many endpoints, how much revenue, how much recurring revenue, because, we don't want to just stay a break fix, project-based business, because, again, that's only scalable through bodies and selling your time. The MSP model is so powerful, and so there's so much value to be had on it, both for clients and for, the MSP owners themselves, that, building out that plan and then agreeing on what you're going to invest in, who's in the right role, what's right for them, and then just getting on with it. But easier said than done.
Yeah, and with the measures of success as well, going to be shooting some more podcasts which will be talking about KPIs and things like that. But with a typical growth plan, what does a standard success measure for an MSP business look like in terms of what should I be measuring?
Well, you should be measuring growth. So what does that look like? How many endpoints do we want to add this year? First of all, are we profitable? Are we as profitable as we could be? Are we selling as much as we could be to our existing clients? So what's the penetration figure? So in many cases, you look at your products. Have you got a product stack? Have you got a product offering? And are all of your clients buying that product stack from you? Or are they buying it? Are you helping them buy it by identifying to them what's missing in their business to optimize its security and its productivity? That's your job. That's the relationship between you both. So I think, looking at where your business is and where you want it to be and what success looks like in the next 12 to 24 months, and working back from there, looking at your existing clients, what are they buying, what are they not buying, and then looking at, if you have the opportunity, looking at new business. But new business is harder than talking to your existing clients and optimizing pricing and packaging.
And finally, the T word, you just mentioned it then, the glue that sticks this whole thing together is around regular communications and talking to each other.
The rhythm of review. As business partners, you've got to talk. And if you have got a plan and you have got, measures of success month by month, then talk about it. And with some of our clients, we say, look, just meet up every week or every 2 weeks for an hour in Starbucks or Costa, not in the business, and talk and work on the business. Talk about operations, talk about sales, talk about marketing, talk about clients, and set some actions aligned to the monthly, plan about what you're going to do between now and next week, and not just in the business. What are we going to do on the business, on the growth plan to move it to the next level? We don't have to both do it. One of us can lead whatever project we're working on. So that rhythm of review, as we call it, is just to sit down once a week, once every fortnight, but make sure that we step back and say, are we on track? Are we headed in the right direction? If not, what do we need to start doing or stop doing?
And, and with those meetings as well, it's going to sound really, really bizarre, but, you're meeting up in Starbucks or other coffee outlets are available, and, having a meeting, but make sure it's a structured meeting. Make sure that you've got an agenda, what you want to talk about, any issues that have popped up that have come up in the period. And one of the frameworks we kind of use, what's gone well, Let's have a discussion. What you think's gone well, what I think's gone well. What could we have done better? And what we're going to do in the next, week, month, whatever it might be, that we're going to upgrade and really make sure that we either finish the project off or make sure that we upgrade and we raise our standards, basically, which is kind of a really key thing.
I'm going to be a bit controversial.
Go on.
Is the other thing is that as business partners, you need to be able to call each other out. And I don't mean falling out and having a ruck in the car park outside Costa. Other coffee shops are available. Is being able to say, because we have a tendency to revert to our comfort zones, what we're comfortable with. And, for many technical owners, it's the technical side and avoiding the things we ought to be doing that's in the plan. So if your business partner isn't, you can see that they are avoiding, talk about it, because otherwise it becomes an elephant in the room, and it's that elephant that is the friction in the progress of the business. So you've got, we do it. We kind of go, no, I think we need some more structure around that thing we're doing because we've created it, because we love creating new stuff. But when we've created it, we need to follow through and bed it in and communicate it and refresh it, revise it, so that it actually becomes something of real value, not just something of passing interest. And that's key. So rhythm of review, hold each other accountable, don't allow the elephant in the room to step in,
to be there,
tackle it, and ensure with that rhythm review that you're on track on your plan. Have a plan and be aligned, and they are the foundational elements to success. Then we just have to execute, which is easier said than done, as usual.
Thanks very much for that, Stuart. And before we come back for our final comment in a minute, I just want to reach out and just share with everybody that if you are listening to this and you may have a business partner, you may not, you may be struggling with your MSP, you may be wondering, what have I got to do things a little bit differently? Then I want to invite you to come and take the MSP Mastery Quiz. If you hit the website, the mspgrowthhub.com, and at the top there's a button, orange button, and the quiz that we've put there basically takes 3 minutes to fill out. It will give you what the next steps are for you, give you a personalized plan, and it will help you to understand the maturity of your business as it is today, very high level, what you need to do, the things you need to focus on. We talked about the vision and the mission and all that sort of stuff. That's all within there as well, about how to grow, the 3 pillars of how to grow your MSP. So go and take that quiz, and we know it'll be really, really insightful. So Stuart, wrapping up, what are the listeners got to do when they come off this podcast if they've got a business partner and they're not aligned?
Get on the same page. Simple as that. And if you're not aligned, work out why you're not aligned and how you could be aligned. It's as simple as that. And if you're struggling, get some help. Get someone to facilitate it.
Fantastic. Lovely stuff. Nice one. Thanks very much. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Yeah, look forward to it.
See you on the next one.
See ya.
So I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, I'd love it if you could leave a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform. If you want to learn more about how to take your MSP to $1 million, or if you're already there, go faster, then come and join Stuart, Warwick and myself in the Scale with Confidence Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. You go and enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.